The Giants just announced Jaxson Dart as the QB1 for the New York Giants. What does that mean, and where do we go from here? What is going on, guys? What is going on, 27 Squad? Welcome back into another video. I was sort of expecting this, I'm not gonna lie. As a lot of Giants fans and Giants content creators, we saw the comments that RoundTable had, and he was very kind of vague on what he was trying to say about the quarterback position. You know, a lot of the beat reporters, they were asking him about how, you know, is there a possibility Jaxson will start? What do you see? How do you think Russell Wilson did? And he's saying we're evaluating all our options right now. And, you know, the cookie cutter stuff, it kind of was leading to more towards Jaxson Dart is probably going to be playing in week 4 against the Los Angeles Chargers. This will be a home game, but it will be a tough task. The Chargers are, I believe, 3-0 right now. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and they came into a narrow victory against the Denver Broncos as well just last week, and they look pretty damn good out there, so this is going to be a challenge. But however, Jaxson Dart is now the starter. Like I said, where do we go from here? So we already know that the Giants have gotten off to, as expectedly, as per usual, an 0-3 start, losing against the Commanders, losing against the Cowboys, and now losing against the Kansas City Chiefs in prime time. And that was the final nail in the coffin for Russell Wilson. Although he did have a good outing against the Dallas Cowboys, it really just seems like everybody is going to have a good outing against the Dallas Cowboys. Russell Wilson in those 3 games threw for 718 passing yards. He had 3 touchdowns and also 3 interceptions with a completion percentage of 59.1. At one point, he was the league's leading passer after the week 2 performance with 450 yards. And we thought that, hey, maybe Russell Wilson could keep cooking. Man, I know he had that bad interception at the end of that game, but maybe he'll keep cooking. And that was not the case whatsoever. He was very late on throws, very inaccurate, and just seemed lost out there, to be honest with you. It just seemed like he's a little bit out of his element. So the Giants are forced to pull the plug after an 0-3 start, go into panic mode, and start their rookie quarterback, Jaxson Dart. And listen, if this was in the beginning of the season, I would be telling you, do not start Jaxson Dart. You guys know on this channel, I've been saying, do not start Jaxson Dart. But man, I'm not gonna lie, watching these games, and it's hard to say, because if Russell Wilson was playing like a normal quarterback, like if he was playing good and he wasn't so hot and cold, I would say just leave Russell Wilson in and let Jaxson Dart develop. But after those 2 performances against the Commanders, the bad interception against the Dallas Cowboys, and now that bad performance against the Kansas City Chiefs, he threw 2 interceptions in that game and a couple of errant throws. I'm ready to say, hey, if we're going to watch bad quarterback play, I'd rather it be from a rookie quarterback and try to see what we have in him. If this season is a sham, which obviously it is, and there's a lot more to do than just the quarterback position, I'm going to put that straightforward to all of you as well. It's not just the quarterback position, but if this season is a sham, just throw Jaxson Dart out there. If this season really doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, just throw Jaxson Dart out there and let the kid play and see what we have in him. That now, there is that pressure of throwing him into the fire, whatever the case is. And I understand that, but it's very clear that the Giants aren't going anywhere this season. There's no, goal for the playoffs. There's no Super Bowl aspirations. There's no even a chance we're going to have a winning record. So let's just have fun this year and see what we have in our rookie quarterback. Now, before I get into the brutal reality of the situation, I just want to talk about the good stuff, about what Jaxson Dart has done so far as a quarterback for the New York Giants. Obviously, the only time we have gotten to see him was the little bit we saw on a couple of option plays in the regular season, but the majority of it was during the preseason. And the Giants went 3-0, and it was a big part of Jaxson Dart. He was the best quarterback, the best rookie quarterback in the preseason. I get it's just the preseason, but it's the only sample size that we have. 32 completions out of 47 attempts, 372 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Had couple of rushing attempts for 52 yards and a rushing touchdown as well. It was very good. I was very satisfied for what we saw. Did he light it up? I wouldn't say he lit it up, but man, he just looked like a veteran out there against, I get it, against backups, against third, fourth stringers, and in a game that doesn't really matter. So we'll see what happens when Jaxson Dart makes his first NFL start against a good Chargers defense. But I have high hopes for him. I don't think he's going to light it up, and that's the brutal reality of it, man. We can't sit here hopefully it happens, but for those of you that expect when Jaxson Dart comes in here and he's just going to light it up and be a Jaden Daniels type quarterback, Dak Prescott in his rookie year type quarterback, and just lead this team to the playoffs and everything's all fine and dandy, you got another thing coming to you, man. This is the New York Giants we're talking about, with the coaching staff that we have, the tough schedule that we have, and just the aura of the Giants right now has never been good, hasn't been good in years. He's going to struggle. We are going to lose a lot of games with him at quarterback. You're going to see him make a lot of mistakes. We saw the first time he carried the ball himself in the regular season so far against the Dallas Cowboys. He stumbled and tripped and fell. It's going to happen. He's a rookie quarterback, and I want everybody to be prepared for that, because Darius Slayton really had a good statement and a good kind of PSA for everybody in his latest presser. Check it out.
What would you think if they do name him the starting quarterback, though?
I mean, if they do, look, he's talented. He's shown himself to be able to learn fast. You know, I think he's capable of being an NFL quarterback. I think he's capable of being a good NFL quarterback. But, you know, if they do, and if we do have a lackluster, performance, maybe a week or two, it's like, well, then if that's the case, give him some time. Give him some grace. Don't show up and boo him a game or two in if he doesn't do well, which I don't expect him to do well. But I'm just saying the reality is it might not. So if that's the case, like, give him time to grow, give us time to gel, and, let him be an NFL quarterback and let him figure out what that is and learn and grow and learn us as players, playing with us players. And, give him a chance to grow and become a good quarterback.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Darius Slayton said that absolutely perfectly. Jordan Renan asked the question because a lot of people thought this was the time. This was the time that Jaxson Dart was going to get his first start. And I like that it's going to be in a home game as well, and not in prime time. So I am glad about that. I'm just not thrilled about the opponent. But, hey, let's see what we have in him. But yeah, like I said, there's going to be moments where he throws interceptions. He's going to lose us games. And I'm not saying that as a Debbie Downer. I'm saying that I'm prepared for that kind of thing, and I'm not going to boo Jaxson Dart. You guys know I wasn't even a fan of Jaxson Dart coming out of Ole Miss. I had him as a second-round grade, and I was fine with where they selected him because it was still with the 25th overall pick. But I was willing to just move away from. I was willing to just skip on him and wait for another draft to draft the quarterback. But hey, we have him, and I want to develop him the right way. I want the Giants to develop him in the right way, and we have to be also patient with him as well. We can't expect him to just light it up, because I think a lot of people look at the Joe Burrows, they look at the Dak Prescotts, they look at the Jaden Daniels especially, and they think that these guys are just supposed to light it up right as soon as they start. They don't really understand. I don't think you guys really understand what it means that the quarterback position is the most challenging position in all of sports. I don't think anybody really understands that statement, but it is true. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be sitting here asking the question, KB, what do we do in the future? What happens next? Okay, Jaxson Dart is starting. Let's say he plays well. Like, what happens after that? Well, a bevy of things could really happen. I really personally, I don't see Brian Daboll sticking around, and that really pains me, because you guys know how much I like Brian Daboll. There's a lot of Brian Daboll haters out there, and I get it. Trust me, it is warranted. Brian Daboll has been the reason this train hasn't been moving very, very far, very often. So if the Giants do fire Brian Daboll, I would not be surprised, and I would say probably it was deserved. But I really like Brian Daboll, and I really like his scheme. I really do. I really like watching the plays out there, and the play designs. And Jaxson Dart was his guy. Jaxson Dart is his quarterback. He treats him like a son, So it would really suck for Jaxson Dart to be developed by another head coach, and hopefully it works out, because obviously that wouldn't be that head coach's guy. So hopefully it works out. But, you know, if I don't see Brian Daboll sticking around, Joe Shane's gone. I mean, there's just no chance Joe Shane sticks around. But I don't see Brian Daboll sticking around either. And if you're going to fire either the GM or head coach, vice versa, you have to fire both of them. There is no keep one, get rid of the other. You gotta hire them in together as a package. So I see Brian Daboll leaving, and then where do we go from there, right? Honestly, you know what's crazy? You know, a lot of people talk about John Gruden, and because Jaxson Dart, I mean, John Gruden, if you thought Brian Daboll loved Jaxson Dart, John Gruden loves him some Jaxson Dart. You guys have seen, you know, all the Gruden grinder videos and him on Twitter, Jaxson Dart sending him a jersey. Like, that's almost like his son as well. Jaxson Dart's just a nice guy. I don't know how I would feel about John Gruden. I really don't. I think he's one of the more overrated coaches we've ever seen in the NFL, to be honest with you. But that's all the respect to John Gruden. I just don't really care for him that much. If it was me, my top 2 candidates right now would be probably Brian Flores. That's crazy for me to say, I know, because I've never been a fan of Brian Flores. But what he's doing in Minnesota, I want to see replicated here with the Giants, especially with the personnel that we have. Our defensive line, with our linebackers, with Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden healthy, are what should be a young, talented defensive back unit. I think Brian Flores can really work with that as a head coach and help implement his defensive scheme here. I would love to see that, and have a situation like, you know, the Buffalo Bills with Sean McDermott. You know, he's a defensive head coach, and they still have a franchise quarterback out there. A lot of people think that, and even myself, I tend to lean more towards offensive head coaches because they've had the overwhelming success in the NFL. But there's also nothing wrong with a defensive head coach as long as that guy can really manage a team and kind of not poke his head around on the offense. I would like that. Let's see what happens as far as a new head coach goes. But I think Brian Flores would be a good candidate. You know who's a sleeper one? Check this out. Listen, everybody. Listen. John Harbaugh. Think of it like a Marvin Lewis situation. You know, Marvin Lewis back with the Cincinnati Bengals always made the playoffs. Everybody thought his job was secure. They made the playoffs constantly. They were never able to get it done. He was eventually fired after like 8 straight seasons making the playoffs and not doing anything with it. John Harbaugh is the same way, except John Harbaugh has won a Super Bowl. Okay, we got to say that, of course. But ever since then, it hasn't really been great for the Ravens after that. They've been very lackluster in the playoffs, and they lost a lot of games that come down to the wire, like in week 1 against the Buffalo Bills. I've heard Ravens fans, even Ravens content creators, they're done with John Harbaugh. They would like to see them move on from John Harbaugh. Now, as Giants fans, that sounds crazy, right? Like, damn, we would kill for a John Harbaugh. Well, the winning standard is just different. I would love to see John Harbaugh here. I know he's a special teams coordinator. You know, he's a special teams head coach, and we don't really have a good track record with that. However, I would love to see. I think John Harbaugh is a sleeper to get fired this year because the Ravens are staring in the face of 1-3 right now with one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and you have to look at the head coach when it comes to that. So I am thinking that may be a little bit of a possibility. But those are my 2 candidates. If you guys have your own candidates, I'm not very keen to all the coordinators out there and guys that are next up for head coaching jobs, but maybe you guys are. Leave it in the comment section below. But what do you guys think about Jaxson Dart being the new starting quarterback for the New York Football Giants? Also, quick little note, the Giants signed Young Hui Koo, the coolest young ho in New York now. So, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. We'll see you guys very, very soon. Young Guns tonight, baby. Woo!